Okay. Coming up on this week's episode, we are talking Chelsea and Villa, some early season predictions, one as a white and who I might remain in the lineup, plus a new feature. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to a new series of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is here. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, we've had quite the summer break.
We have. Series 7 is upon us. So yeah, I've been going for, I put a tweet out the other day, it was 6 years that we've been podcasting now. So it's, it's been a long time. And a lot has happened over the summer.
Yeah.
It almost came home.
It almost came home.
Almost.
Yes, not quite.
Not quite. I mean, I didn't think it was coming home after the round of 16 game. To get as far as they did, playing how they did, I mean, they did pretty well, to be fair.
The only time I actually thought it might come home was in the 90th minute of the game against Holland. That was about the only fleeting moment I thought it might happen. As soon as we kicked off then against Spain, I thought, no, it's not coming home. But it was closer than I expected it to be in the final, though.
It was. I mean, Cole Palmer getting a goal. I'm just saying, spent a lot of time on that bench. Just saying.
Villa and Chelsea boys did both our teams proud, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think we were all a bit worried at times with the team selection about how it wasn't changing. Personally, Palmer I thought should have been in there, and I thought after about 2 games I thought Watkins should have been starting up front, but I think he is going to be when Kane, because what do we think Harry Kane, how long, much longer can he go as England's number sort of first choice striker? What another do you think he's got another World Cup and maybe a Euros in him, or
another World Cup? Yes.
Do you think he goes another 2 years? Because what's he, 31, 32 now, maybe?
On now, so he'll be 35 for the next Euros. Might be.
But he's not going to be first choice by then, is he?
I don't think so. If he's in the squad, it will be as a backup, I would say.
Yeah.
At that point. But I suppose it depends if his scoring record is as it is at Bayern at the moment. You never know. I mean, doesn't do that much running, to be fair to him. So who knows?
No. I just, I can see it. I can see him going to the Euros in 4 years. I just don't see him being the first choice by then. And I would say Watkins has got every chance of doing it now, especially now Ivan Toney's gone off to the Saudi League.
Yeah. Good news for Watkins, I think.
I think that's, if anything, that's probably elevating Watkins further away from anyone else.
Yeah.
We've got lots to get through. Lots has changed, I guess, since we last spoke in the Premier League. A lot of comings and goings, and that's just Chelsea. It's been a lot going on there. So we'll start with Villa, and just, I guess, how the summer's gone for them, and what you've seen so far this season, and
it's we had a bit of a strange window, mostly because we had to stick to our PSR regulations and had to comply by the end of June, I think it was. So didn't start off fantastically for Villa, losing Douglas Luiz, but there were some slightly strange goings on between yourselves, us and Everton with some of the players that we signed, and it obviously seemed to get us back on track a little bit. And then since then, I've been relatively pleased with the players that we brought in. I think Anana has started like a house on fire. It seems like he's just always been in Villa's centre midfield. So he started really well. I think the positions that we could have done with maybe another right back. We had Lamar Bogard playing there, who's not a right back, and it was his first team debut at the weekend, although he did pretty well. I think most of the other players were bought in with the Champions League in mind, knowing that we needed a bigger squad. So players like Ross Barkley was bought in. We bought back Jaden Philogene, which I think is a really good signing. I didn't want to get rid of him anyway, but obviously that helps with our squad registration for the Champions League. Initially, we bought back Cam Archer, and I thought that was for the same reason, but then we sold him again, which was a very strange transfer to buy someone and then sell them again almost instantly was a bit weird, especially because he played a lot in pre-season, but yeah. And then I think, our midfield's looking quite strong now. With Onana, we've got Kamara to come back, Barkley for a little bit of depth. The only bad business I think we've done is I don't think we've maybe given Moussa Diaby a chance to turn his form around. I think he started off really well for us last season, tailed off a bit towards the end, and I don't know whether it's a case of feeling homesick or he just didn't like where he was. Maybe there's other reasons for letting him go, but I think we maybe broke even on his transfer, and he was our record signing at that point. Still might be. I think Onana is close to breaking that, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen another season from him playing with Leon Bailey, because I think they were really dangerous in the early stages of last season. But yeah, overall, relatively pleased. I think we could have done with another right back. Maybe I think we were looking at a few attacking midfielders and strikers. Chelsea seemed to nick a certain someone from us at the last minute. We were rumoured to be after João Felix for a little bit, and he obviously went elsewhere. But yeah, overall, very good. Quite pleased we kept John Duran. It looked certain that he was going to leave throughout the entire window, but he's obviously come to rescue us in 2 of the first 3 games. So that was a big positive. But yeah, we've got a bigger squad now, and I think hopefully it gives us a chance to compete on both fronts of the Premier League and the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that, like you said, that you needed to do was probably bolster the team ahead of the Champions League, which I think most of the teams in the Champions League have done, and the Europa League. Just the sheer amount of games that you're going to have to play in those competitions now, and potentially more if you don't finish in that top 8 bracket. But Nana started well. So he got 2 goals in 3 games now. Is it 2 and 3?
Yeah, and Maatsen started well. He didn't play against Leicester, but he came on against West Ham and made a real difference. So he seems like a positive signing. Gives a bit of competition for the left back spot. Yeah, he was the one that I forgot to mention. But yeah, he's been a good signing for us so far.
And there was, like you said, a lot of deals going on between clubs, but they were keen to keep things separate. Yeah. It wasn't like, this isn't a swap deal. It's not a swap deal. It's got nothing to do with it. So it was kind of like, you scratch my back, we'll scratch yours. Which there's nothing wrong in doing. It's not against any rules or anything. So, but yeah, I think you started well as well. I think you started in how I thought you would start as well. You signed Maatsen from us. What was that, 37 mil, I think it was?
Million,
which is the most we actually got from any of our players this time around this window. So, I saw you got Ross Barkley back as well.
Yeah, quite a low risk one that was, 5 million.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you know what you're going to get from him as well. So it's not like he hasn't played for you before. So,
and in that spell before, I think the first, I'd say 10 to 15 games of the season, he looked ridiculously good actually, and I don't pick up a knock or he had a couple of games where he didn't hit his top form and lost a bit of confidence. But the second half of the season, he just seemed to down tools a little bit. So hopefully that won't happen this time. Certainly didn't for Luton last season. He was a standout player for them, and I think he played really well. And yeah, it'd be good to have him back in the side. It adds to our numbers in centre midfield, which we desperately needed. So yeah, overall, I think quite a positive window for us. Obviously, a little bit disappointed. We lost Kellyman to you, although it was 19 million, so can't really argue at that. But he was looking like a real prospect for us in the couple of cameos that he's had last season. Irid Boonham I quite liked as well last season, but 9 million for him when really he's going to be quite far down the pecking order, I think, with the players that we've got now. So I think that's fair, and he seems to have started quite well for Everton. So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for him. But yeah, everybody else. I mean, we ended up nearly sort of just over 40 million for Douglas Luiz, 50 million for Diaby. So hopefully it means that we don't have the same PSR issues in the future, and we can spend a little bit more than we have done. I think we've just about broken even in this window, so it might give us a chance to actually spend some money and invest a bit more going forward.
Yeah, well, so just move over to Chelsea quickly. Obviously, it was a lot has been said about the back end of last season that they'd have to sell players to buy players, but that doesn't seem to be the case too much. Although after everything, I think they've spent about 40 million. I think after you sort of take away the players that we sold. Well, I think obviously the biggest change is that Poch has gone since we last spoke, so he's gone. Which was strange, because obviously the back end of last season, we were probably the informed team. I mean, I think we won 6 out of the last 6.
Yeah.
And it felt like something was happening, and we started playing really well, and then all of a sudden he's gone. So it is what it is. And Maresca comes in, and we had an awful pre-season. I don't think there's anything hiding how bad pre-season was. We won 1 game out of 5, and that was the Club America.
That was good as that pre-season, to be honest. We didn't
lost. Yeah, we were 2-0 down against Man City in the first 5 minutes, and then we were lucky not to lose probably about 6 or 7 in that game. Lost to Celtic 4-1. It wasn't great, and you were kind of thinking this could be a long, long season, and how long is the manager going to last? No, needless to say, a lot of players have come in, but then a lot of players have come in and gone back out.
Yeah.
I guess the main ones is Neto from Wolves. Injured a lot last season. Yeah. What I've seen so far is not been too bad. Dewsbury Hall, when we signed him, do you know what it reminded me of Drinkwater? We signed him and I thought, oh no, do we really need him? Probably not. Have we got players that are better than him in that position? Yes. But again, I think it's the whole Europe situation where, last year we weren't in Europe. This year we are. So you've got different things that you've got to have in place, such as you've got so many English players in your team. With all the travelling back and forth as well, you're going to need players. He's not done too bad. João Felix, surprised about him actually that he came. Just purely the fact that it was kind of it felt quite rushed.
Yeah,
because it was all dependent on the Gallagher deal going through that they needed to sell someone.
Didn't seem like he particularly enjoyed his loan spell with you previously, but maybe I'm being a bit.
Yeah, I mean when he came on against Wolves the other day, he actually played really well. He had a really good connection with Neto, and he scored as well.
Yeah.
But but he struggled when he came on Sunday against Palace. He struggled, but then the whole team struggled second half. I don't know what was going on second half of that game, but and then like you said, we've got a whole list of we've got Jorgensen, new keeper, but he looks like he's going to play cup matches.
Mm-hmm.
He played both European games so far. Viega, who's one of the players who's come in that hasn't actually gone back out on loan or isn't training with the under 21 squad.
The outcast.
He's a left back, so he has taken Chilwell's place, I think now. Kellyman, like you mentioned, so far, so he did get sent off in an under 21 match last week. Yeah. He did score in that before he got sent off as well. And then you got Mark Gui from Barcelona for 5 mil, who I think actually has a really good deal for 5 mil.
They thought he was quite a prospect, I think.
I think he's definitely one for the future. He does look quite good in the air as well. And then on deadline day, Jadon Sancho, which wasn't on my he wasn't on my radar until about 2 or 3 days before, when it was just suggested online that he'd be interested in a move to Chelsea. So he couldn't play on Sunday because he was signed on too late. But I think that's a really good signing. I think with him, I think it's going to go either really, really well or terribly bad. I don't think there's going to be an in-between on this one.
Yeah, I think it'll either be the best signing of the window or the worst. I mean, again, it's low risk because it's a loan for you, but he's either going to come in and think he's got a point to prove and he's going to go.
I think he'll come in, and I think eventually he'll become he'll be on that starting lineup. I think when he's able to play. I don't know. It's quite an exciting signing, I think, for us. I think we've first sort of 3 games, apart from the Wolves game, I think we've struggled in the attacking area.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely one that can do something. But then again, like we said, he might be absolutely terrible. But and even if we actually have to buy him for 25 million, I think you're getting a bit of a steal there, to be fair, as well. Because he's still only 24.
Yeah.
He's English.
Do in a Dortmund shirt, it's just replicating that in the Premier League.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. He could be the signing of the season, or the worst signing of the season. Obviously, Conor Gallagher's left, which I was gutted about, because I felt that he was the one player last season who, when we needed someone to dig deep, he was that one player, and he was that one player that will give you 110% every single game that he plays. He'll chase everything on that pitch. He is the John McGinn of Villa.
Yeah.
Just everything.
Yeah.
He did everything for that, for the club in that midfield area. He'd come back and defend. He'd be the first one on the attack when they're running forward. Anything that you'd ask him to do, he'd have done it. So I'm not surprised he's gone. There was issues with contracts and stuff. He was offered a new deal from what I read online, but he turned it down. Fair play to him. He's going to play for Athletic. I think he'll do well there.
I think he will. I guess with that amount of players, especially bringing in Dewsbury Hall, I suppose there was a wealth of options in that position, and maybe he thought, I'm going to get more game time going elsewhere. And unless Chelsea can guarantee that I'm going to be starting every week, then I might as well go and play. He's got an England team to get into at the end of the day. He can't afford to sit on the bench for 50% of the games this season. If he wants to be playing and playing well, then I guess he would have to go elsewhere. But I think it's from his perspective, or from a Chelsea fan's perspective, I suppose it's nice to see him choose Atletico because I know there were English clubs interested in him.
Yeah, I don't think he would have gone. He had the chance to go to Villa, but I think for some reason he wasn't keen. I'm not sure why. He was probably offered the same amount of money that he's going to get at Atletico Madrid, but I don't think he wanted to leave. If I'm 100% honest, I don't think he wanted to leave. I think he was told basically you're not in the plans, so you can stay here for the last year of your contract, or you can go now and we'll get some money for you. I honestly don't think that they were that bothered because he's come through the youth system there. He didn't cost them any money, so to them, I don't think they were that bothered if he would have stayed.
Got to be honest, Chris. I'm obviously outside of the Chelsea loop, but I'm interested in what you think. Being probably a little bit more involved than I am. It seems that Maresca's been brutal. Well, I don't know. It might not be Maresca. It might be the board telling him what to do.
Yeah,
it seems he's been brutal for a number of people that have been decent Chelsea players down the years.
I think he came in, and I think after the first two sort of pre-season games, I think he got a fair. I think he could see. What was in front of him, and he banished about 5 or 6 of them to the under-21 squad. Chilwell was one of them, Brower was one of them, but he's managed to escape. Lukaku was training with them, but he was always going to go, and he's finally gone. Gallagher was one. Chukwuemeka's another one who I thought was going to go, but's not gone. He stayed. But there's no, I'm not sure if he's even, I think he has been registered for the team, so he has a chance. And Sterling. And I guess Sterling was probably the biggest name on that list.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying they're a bit gutted that he's gone. I mean, fair play. There's not many people that can say they've played for Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal. But I think they're keen on, I don't know, I don't think he knew really what to do with him. Because he was terrible. End of last season, he was not good at all.
No, he did.
And I think the main issue for him is he is on pre-Todd Bowley wages.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've heard, but a lot has been said about the wage structure that's now in place there, where all the players that we've just gone through, they are incentivized more for performance. So their base salary, so from what I've read online, all the players that have come in are on less than 100 grand a week.
Right.
But their bonuses, so they're incentivized to perform better, basically.
Yeah.
And this is the whole reason why the Osimhen deal never happened.
Right.
Because they were willing to give him, he would have had to take a pay cut to come to Chelsea. And I think that they offered him around about 140, 150 a week.
Yeah.
But then he was heavily incentivized by bonuses. So like, you score X amount of goals, you'll get this. We reach the FA Cup final, you'll get this.
Yeah.
So it's a way of, I guess, of saying, we want you, we're going to give you a fairly decent wage, but you can earn more. If you play well, you'll earn more. And I guess that's their feeling behind it, is that you've brought in 8-9 players that are going to be in and around that first team squad that are now incentivized to do well because they're going to get a big payout for it come the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the one position I thought we needed was another striker.
It's the one that didn't really materialise as well.
And we were for so long looking for a striker. We went from Duran to Tony to Osimhen back to Duran.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't know how true this is, but it's been quite loud on Villa Twitter that both West Ham and Chelsea made a deadline day bid for Duran and it got rejected. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, it looks like maybe at the last minute. I guess if
well, the Osimhen deal, they were working on that. Apparently, a fee was agreed with Napoli sort of 2-3 days before deadline day, but they just couldn't agree his wages because he was offered 400 grand a week in Saudi and he turned it down.
Yeah,
it just. At the end of the day, he's got to earn 11. I understand that he's got to earn 11, but now he's not even being registered for the Napoli squad now.
So he's going to be stuck for 6 months.
I guarantee they sign him in January. They'll sign him.
Yeah.
But they're going to play hard to get because they know the longer he stays there, he'll be desperate to play football.
Yeah.
So he's more likely to do it. And then, they can offer less than Napoli as well because they'll say, well, he's not playing. So, surely you want something for him. They would just set his contract otherwise. But it's a strange one. Because he's kind of, and I don't blame him for it because he is in catch-22 where he either earns, I think they say he's on like 220 grand a week at Napoli, or he joins Chelsea for 140, and then he probably would be the number one striker there.
Oh yeah, he'd be straight.
So,
yeah.
I don't think that's finished. I think that's still open to in January. I think that will come back in January. I think
maybe
him coming to Chelsea because I think he's keen. I think he's keen to come to Chelsea. I don't think was. I think it was just down financially. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that was the one thing that I thought that we were missing. But other than that, I think the players that we brought in are good. And a lot of people the whole thing with the 42 players just annoyed me over the summer. Like, he's not got 42 players, has he? He has, but they're not all. It's just.
No.
I messaged you and I was like, half these players they're not even the first team. So, and I think it's healthy competition. And you've already seen it. Look at Madueke. He started off so well now because he knows that one slip up and he's going to be sat on that bench again. But yeah, since the start of I think we've done as well as I thought we did, to be honest with you. I didn't think we'd beat Man City. To be fair, I thought we'd probably draw against Wolves and beat Palace, but it was just the other way around.
Yeah.
Struggled a bit in Europe last week.
Yeah. That made it.
I'd be sweating a little bit there, but I mean, to be fair, like, no disrespect to the teams that were going to be playing in the group stage, but that was probably the biggest test until you get to the knockout stages, I think, because obviously Severette came from the Europa League, so they were knocked down from there.
Yeah.
So, so we've got some interesting fixtures coming out anyway in that Conference League. And I think on paper, we're clear favourites. So I think anything else than winning it, I think you'd have to feel a bit disappointed with. I think.
Yeah.
I think Real Betis are the second favourites and Fiorentina are third. And they're probably the two teams.
Yeah.
That say that are close to challenging.
Yeah, Fiorentina was well in it last year. I think they got semi-final. I think about the same level that we did.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference this time round is where the format has changed, where you're not going to get people from the Europa League now drop down into the Conference League.
Yeah.
So literally the teams that are there in this big group stage are the teams that you're going to come up against now up until the final. So, so I think a good cup run, that will get us into the Europa League if we win that. So, but we'll go into some predictions later about where I think we might come. But, so that's kind of the what's been happening, I guess, over the summer. Lots changed, lots of ins and outs. But we'll be back in part 2 with some wonders of why, who am I, some predictions for the season, and a new feature. Hello and welcome back to episode 1 of the new series. And we're going to go into some wonders of why. I bet you've been waiting for this, Liam.
It's my highlight.
3 months.
This entire podcast, this is my highlight. It's the reason that I do this podcast.
Arne Slot, the new Liverpool manager, he's the first manager to win each of his first 3 Premier League games without conceding a single goal since 2007, when Sven-Goran Eriksson did it.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that name to appear.
No.
Rest in peace, Ben. Sadly missed.
Nice little tribute for him, look. Nice
Yeah.
little tribute. Cole Palmer has now assisted 15 goals in the Premier League for Chelsea. That's the most of any player across Europe's Big 5 leagues since his debut in 2023, September.
Yeah. He's four already this season. I was reading earlier. See, I do some research.
He set Madueke, all 3 of Madueke's up goals against Wolves.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland. Here's another name that you might not have actually thought was going. So Erling Haaland is the first player to score a hat-trick in 2 of his team's first 3 league games in a season since Paul Jewell for Bradford in the 94-95 season.
Wow.
So Erling Haaland and Paul Jewell are now linked in history of the Premier League. And Everton, Everton were leading by 2+ goals until the 87th minute. This is the latest team has ever been 2 goals up ahead in a game, and they've gone on to lose in the Premier League history.
Yeah, and it did not go down well in the stadium, did it?
No, I think I heard the boos from here.
Yeah.
I'm about 500 mile away.
Yeah, they don't need a bigger stadium because you don't need to amplify that much noise. It's just,
it's a big stadium for a championship side as well.
Yeah.
And they've been heading that way for a long time now as well.
Yeah. Reminiscent of Villa in 2016. Sorry, Everton fans, but yeah.
Okay. We're going to go on to our predictions for this season. So Liam, I'll let you kick this off.
Yes, so we've set out the criteria beforehand, similar to last season, but I've taken out a few of the obvious ones, like who's going to be top scorer. I think we both know who we would have gone for. And kept in some of the ones that maybe got us thinking a little bit more. So I'll read each one out. You let me know your prediction, and then I'll let you know mine, which is already written down, so there's no copying. So who do you think will be champions this year?
Still the same, Man City.
You've gone for the same with Man City.
Yep.
I have also gone for the same with Man City.
I don't think that other clubs. Arsenal still don't have an out-and-out striker, so that was the one thing over the summer I think they needed to do, and I think they could have tempted a whole load of people.
Yeah,
and
a few people out there, but. Yeah,
they're still a striker away from winning the league for me, and I don't think any of them clubs are close enough at the moment.
Yeah, I think in another predictions that we are both part of at work, I've actually put Liverpool, I think, to come second this season. I think they've had a good start to the season, so I think there might be a bit of a gap there this year between first and second. I don't think it'll be quite as close as last year, but I think Liverpool might get second this year. Anyway. Who do you think will be relegated?
So I would have said these 3 teams even before the first 3 games. I've gone for Southampton.
Yeah.
I've gone for. I didn't want to go for Ipswich. It's like last season going for Luton. I didn't want to go for Luton, but I think it's an obvious choice, and I just don't think they'll survive. And I would have gone for Everton as well.
Yeah. We actually shared 2 out of 3, so we're not exactly the same. I've also gone for Southampton. just because I think, as admirable as it is trying to play the way that they play, I don't quite think they've got the players in order to do that in the Premier League. I think they even struggled a little bit sometimes to do that in the Championship last season, but they obviously managed to make it work and come up. I just think, I mean, if you go back and see the goals that they conceded this weekend, they all pretty much came from passing around at the back, giving the ball away and letting the opposition score. Brentford didn't really have to do that. So that's why I went for Southampton. I just think they'll concede too many. Ipswich, I think they'll give it a fight, but I think it might not be enough. They're the ones that I had a bit of doubt out of my three, because I think they've been away for so long. You know they're going to be tough to beat at home, but similar to Luton last year, like you say,
I just think they'll concede too many goals. I think that'll be their downfall. They might necessarily get some win. They might get a few wins, but I think some of the losses they'll take this year, I think, will just damage their goal difference a lot come the end of the season.
The third team, I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk by them, because I think if either Everton or Leicester get points deductions like they are likely to do, will be either Everton or Leicester. But I've gone for this as though there's going to be no points deductions this season, and I've gone for Nottingham Forest.
Forest would have. It was between Everton and Forest for me.
Yeah, they didn't have a good end to last season. I think they've had a few okay transfers, but they're going to be heavily reliant on Chris Wood and Gibbs White again. One of them was to get injured. I think it would be, not great for their attacking options. I know they've got a 1U, but I don't know whether he's been injured, but he seems to be in and out of the team at the moment. But again, I think it's going to be conceding goals. I just can't see them keeping them out at the other end. So, for that reason, I've gone for Forest. But like I say, there may be probably more points deductions than there were last season. So it is all to play for, I think. Who have you got down to be the biggest overachiever this season?
Bournemouth.
Interesting. Why have you gone for Bournemouth?
I've been impressed with them so far this season.
Yeah.
They've got Kepa in goal. What more do you want? I think, and they've signed some good players as well. Is it Arujo from? Is it Barcelona they signed him from?
Yeah.
They've got. I wouldn't say they've had a bad. I think they'll just do well. And I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but they got some pretty decent money for a certain player.
It did. Yeah.
But they must have been gobsmacked when they got that offer in, I think. But I think they'll do well. I think they look a lot better going forward from what I've seen so far, and defensively.
Yeah.
They've done pretty well as well. And they were awful last season. So I don't think they'll get any worse. They came from behind, 2-0 down to score 3 goals in a short space of time.
Yeah.
I think that will help them with their confidence, surely.
Yeah. It won't surprise you, Chris, to know that I have gone for the exact same team. I've also.
Well, you have, and
as my overachiever, and again, I think you've ticked all the points. I think they're well organised. They've had a good window. I think Sinisterra is a really good signing for them. He looked pretty dangerous at the weekend. Kepa is a good signing for them in goal. I think they did lack a little bit of a goalkeeper last season, so he can stay fit and keep on form. He'll be really good for them. But they have looked a lot more solid in defence than last season, which I think obviously let them down on a few occasions last year. If they can sort that out, which it looks like they have in the opening few games, I could see them getting a top half finish. I think they could quite comfortably get eighth or ninth. I think if they stay relatively injury free. I think he's got them playing really good attacking football, but really well organised at the back as well. So yeah, I've also gone for Bournemouth, and they've made other good signings as well. I did have a look earlier at the list, but I've closed that tab now, so I can't remember who I saw. But yeah, they've made some other good signings as well. So. Biggest underachiever then? I think I might have the same answer as you again, Chris. I think I know you're going to go for, but
Possibly, but I'll get hate for it. I'll go for Man United.
yeah, the same as me.
It, I probably put them down every year, to be fair, but I think every year I've got a good reason to do it.
Yeah,
They're not a good squad. They're Man United fans. They're in their own world sometimes. Right, they've signed Ugarte from PSG. I think that's a fairly good signing.
yeah.
De Ligt.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence with him, and I'm on the fence with Mazraoui as well.
Ten Hag at Ajax to obviously get through to the Champions League semi-final.
I understand that he basically what he's done is he's looked at the squad and thought, I know, 2-3 seasons ago with Ajax, I managed to get them to the Champions League semi-final. Let me buy those players and put them into this squad. There's a reason why De Ligt has been sold for 45 million. Yeah. He's a good defender. He's not a world-class defender. He's a good defender. I don't see him improving hugely what they've already got. It's the same with Mazraoui. He didn't really play for Bayern Munich that much last season. So, yeah, I'm probably being quite negative towards them, but I don't see how those players are going to benefit them. And again, they've done exactly what Chelsea did. Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
See, one player last season when they needed a goal came off the bench, scored goals for them in midfield. I don't know this for fact, but he's probably one of their highest scoring midfielders last season, other than Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me that they've let him go. I mean, look, De Ligt, he might be good. He wasn't even a starter for the Holland team.
No, he was Van Dijk's backup, wasn't he? And yeah, I think.
And they haven't started very well. Yes, they were awful. Yes, they really. I know. Look, I know, hypocritical. Chelsea, not great. I understand that. But at the moment, I would say they've got more problems than what Chelsea have.
Yeah.
There's no sort of cohesion when they go forward. It seems very lackluster when they go forward. I think they heavily rely on players like Mainu already.
Yeah.
When he's not playing well, they look lost.
Yeah.
And he gives the ball away a lot as well, Mainu.
Didn't play well yesterday at all.
Dirty.
Yeah, a lot of money. He's not the most prolific striker either.
He's not someone that I would have, as a Man United fan, or I would have gone, he's top of the list for strikers that we need. Højlund is a good striker, but I think when Højlund is back, I think he'll be the first choice. But again, like Arsenal, I think there's other strikers they could have gone. They could have got Osimhen. Anyone could have got him. As long as they would have paid him well, he would have gone.
A lot of money spend on Højlund backup as well.
And then
50 million, wasn't it? I think.
And then when I saw that they'd offered Johnny Evans a new contract, that was probably about the same time I put them as the undertier. I think. Yeah. Against like the first game of the season against Fulham, they weren't even that good, and they scored in like literally the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
That could have easily been a draw. Against Brighton, they were even worse.
Yeah.
And yet yesterday, they were terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I have also put United obviously as well. I think they're going to be lucky to get in the top 8. I think this season. I think you've mentioned quite a few of their signings there. I don't think Mazraoui is the worst signing because
No, don't. They're not the worst signings, but they are.
I think
I don't think they help. I don't think that you would say on paper that they're going to improve them hugely.
No, I think with Wan-Bissaka obviously was looking to leave. He's very much a like-for-like replacement. I don't think he necessarily takes United forward, but he stops them losing out in that position, I suppose. The legs, yeah, I mean, he did have a decent partnership with Martinez at Ajax, so I get the logic behind it, but we all know it's a different quality league, and I know that Champions League semi-finals not to be sniffed at, but there's a difference between getting to the Champions League final when you're playing the Premier League week in, week out, to playing in the Dutch league week in, week out. You know, you can afford, especially when you're playing for Ajax, you can afford to be rested for a game here and there.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the Premier League is a bit more intense. There's a lot, you know, more competitive.
Well, yeah, he looked when he came off yesterday, he looked knackered.
Yeah. I think fitness. He didn't play much for Bayern either. You know, he certainly wasn't a regular, I would say, and obviously he sat on the bench for the whole Dutch campaign of Euros. I think there's potential for him to become a good signing, but I think if he is going to do that, he's going to require a lot of patience, which I don't think Man United fans are going to give him.
No.
I don't think that Ten Hag is going to get, to be honest. I'll come on to that in a minute. But those signings aside, Xerxes is a very strange one. I know they needed a striker. Højlund obviously I think he's out injured at the moment, or you know, you need more than one. But expensive for a backup, and I don't think he improves Højlund at all. I think
No.
similar. The glaring improvement for me would be in midfield, which they don't really seem to have signed many people until today, the transfer deadline day with Ugarte. I don't really know that much about him, to be honest. I've not seen him play many times for PSG.
I think he was about 2 seasons ago. He was linked, I think, with Liverpool and Chelsea, and I think they were keen to get him, but he chose PSG. But then I just don't think he played that much. Well,
Yeah.
I think he's a defensive midfielder, so I assume that he's there to take over from Casemiro, who
probably does improve.
Awful yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, to be hooked off an academy debutant is not a good look for a Brazilian World Cup winner.
I still can't believe he was there. End of last season, he was.
Yeah, he looked like checked out.
He looked like an old man.
Yeah, so strange,
but yeah, I think we've gone in quite hard on Man United now.
United fans. There are obviously, you know, they do have hope. I think Diallo and Garnacho and people coming through, but again, they're going to need patience to hit the level. And like you say, same with Mane, you can't rely on them at this young age just yet. It's not really fair on such a young player. But anyway, next prediction is just your wildest prediction.
Yeah, I don't think this is. The more and more I think about this, the more and more I don't think this is actually that wild. So I went for 3 English teams winning all the European trophies.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Man City winning Champions League, Chelsea winning the Conference League, and Spurs winning the Europa League. Dumbass, but you know.
That's the dodgy one, surely. Spurs winning.
Yeah. Well, I did look on William Hill. £10 would probably get you in the region of about £500. So, if anyone fancies it,
might be worth a flutter. My wild prediction, and again, I wrote it this afternoon, and I think more and more now I've thought about it, maybe not so wild. I've gone for 9 managers to be sacked or resign.
Oh God, how weird is that? I was thinking about managers when I got the message. The first thing I actually thought of was managers getting sacked. I don't know why.
I've written them in order.
Go on
then. I think we're going to come on to the first managerial sacking later, so this does kind of ruin that tense moment. Russell Martin, I think, is going to go first, followed by Sean Dyche, Ten Hag, Steve Cooper. Then I'm sorry, mate, Enzo Maresca's going. I don't think Postecoglou is going to be far behind. Then Nuno Santo, then Eddie Howe, and then Gary O'Neill. I think Wolves are going to sort of struggle, but they'll give him the season. And he's going to either, when it's confirmed that they're going to go down or just before, I think he's going to be told to leave or resign. So yeah, I've gone for 9 managers this season.
Probably not going to be far off, to be fair.
Maybe the order will change a little bit, but that's the order I've decided to put it in just because it's a wild prediction and that's what we like, wildness. So yeah, that's my wild one for the season. Next criteria, where do you think Chelsea will be this season? It can be anywhere really. Yeah.
I've gone for where I think that this is as far as they'll get. They won't get any higher. So I went for it. I went for 4th.
You've gone for 4th.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we've got the mirror.
Probably.
So I've gone 5th for Chelsea, but where do you think Villa will finish?
I feel bad now because you've gone 4th for Villa, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
I've gone 6th.
You've gone 6th. Okay, fair enough.
The only reason I've done it is this is the first time for a while.
Yeah.
You're in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think that might, I'm not saying it will, it might come towards the back end of the season. I think tiredness is going to hit you.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll get through in the Champions League. I think you'll finish in the top 8 in that Champions League. I think you will. Yeah, I think you will.
You've recouped some credit with me.
How you get the thing is obviously if you get in that top 8, you're going to play one of the teams from 9 to 24 in the round of 16. So. I think you'll finish I think I said to you your fixtures, I think 6 of them I think you can easily win.
Yeah.
But I think you getting further in that competition, I think will affect your position. I think it's a bit different with Chelsea because we've got quite a big squad.
Yeah.
And we don't play as many games in the Conference League. And to be fair, I'm going to say that probably 3 wins in that Conference League will probably get you in top 8.
Yeah.
So I think the majority of those games will be switching the team completely.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Emery will want to give it a good go in the Champions League. He won't want to get knocked out.
It's good. I think the logic behind that, I think, is fine. I think also it really depends on Spurs. I've kind of put Spurs to not have a terrible season.
I would put Spurs behind you in 7th.
Oh, okay, interesting. I kind of have them challenging for the top 4 this season. I think the pressure's kind of off a little bit. No one's really looking at them. But I think it could go either way. I have put Postecoglou to be sacked.
5th, I would go Newcastle. I think they'll do well again this season.
Yeah.
I think Tonali being back is like a new player for them, basically. And I think no distractions elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think they'll improve.
So I've let mine out the bag.
Yeah, you did. Let yours out the bag.
So who are you going for?
I went for same as you.
Russell Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Saints.
I think it's hard. I always think it's difficult as a manager of a team that have just come up because you've worked so hard the previous season to get them up, and all the fans are like, "Yeah, we're up. We love our manager." And then 5 games in, they're like, "Sack the manager. He's terrible." And I think we got you there. So, I guess it comes down to, do they want someone who's been in the Premier League before?
Yeah.
But I think he will be first. And I think I think Ten Hag. This just really seems like I'm going after them now, doesn't it? I think Ten Hag goes this season.
Yeah, I think he does.
I think if come Christmas they are not within that top 7, I think he goes.
I also, from his point of view, there was so much talk over summer, and let's be realistic, he kept his job because he won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
That's pretty well broadcast. But the fact that he won the FA Cup, and then they sort of went off to deliberate, and then kind of during the Euros, they sort of quietly came out and said, oh yeah, we'll keep him for another season. If I was Ten Hag, probably would have said at that point, actually, do you know what? No, I've won a cup for you, and you're still deliberating about it.
Yeah, the whole thing, it just makes me think that
Yeah, it's going to happen.
they haven't got confidence in him, and I think just a string of games where they keep losing. I think he'll have till Christmas, and I said top 7, but I think even possibly top 5 if they're not within that top 5, or they're not within sort of 4 or 5 points.
Yeah,
of top 5. I think, and the way they've started, I think they're going to be a long way from that. Yeah, this sounds really bad. I'm not Burma. I am, but
let's speak more positively. Who do you think is going to be the best signing of the summer?
I didn't want to go with an obvious one here. I went for Emil Smith-Rowe.
I do think about him. He has started well.
Yeah, he started well at Fulham, and he's definitely an upgrade on what they had.
Yeah.
And I think for 34 million, I think that's it's pretty good for him.
There's a depth player there. I mean, we saw it for Arsenal.
Oh yeah. When he gets on that ball, you never quite know what's going to happen. But I think for the price that they got him at, and for the way he started, it looks positive.
Fulham are up there for best transfer window. I was torn actually for the biggest overachiever being between Bournemouth and Fulham, and I nearly did put Fulham because I think Smith-Rowe signed in, Anderson signed in as well, 30 million. That was a real surprise because he was massive for Palace last season.
Yeah.
For them to let him go, I thought that was a bit of a steal actually for Fulham. So I think they've had a really, really good window. And obviously Muniz at the end of last season was scoring for fun really towards the end. So if he can sort of maintain that form into this season, of course to be reckoned with. A top half finish wouldn't be out of the question. It'd be difficult, but I don't think it'd be out of the question for them. So yeah, I agree with that one. And I did initially put him in my fantasy league team. Again, we're going to come on to that in a bit. But for budget reasons, he was removed in the end. But my signing in the summer, probably a bit more of an obvious one. I have gone for Chiesa for Liverpool, just because 12 million quid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a bargain, and I don't really know how to pull that off so easily as well. There was never really another team that was ever in with a chance of getting him, I don't think.
Very good player.
I think, it's a low amount. There's no pressure on him. I think he adds depth to them he can play really in all 3 of the attacking positions that Liverpool play. Stick him on either wing, chuck him up front. He's not prolific, but they don't need him to be because they've got Salah. Salah's prolific. They need him to be like a Jota, like a Diaz. And I think he'll just add quite nicely into what Liverpool have already got. I just think it's a smart signing. And if it goes wrong, 12 million really in this day and age.
It's not a loss at all, really, is it?
Worst signing of the summer then.
Oh, I did mention this one already. This is purely on price. It's Solanke at 65 mil. I feel for him because that is a huge price tag for him. I think 40 would have been sort of the ballpark that I would have been looking at, if I'm honest. He's not even sort of England, he's not going to be fighting in that England squad, is he?
Well, he hasn't been, I suppose.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, maybe, but he's had one good year in the Premier League.
I pictured myself as being in the Bournemouth office and something comes through to say that we want to buy Dominic Solanke, and you're thinking, oh, okay, yeah, sending them back something saying, we're open to offers, and then someone comes back to you and says 65 million, and they're probably thinking, so where has that figure come from? Because that is a huge amount. I mean, again, Chelsea, I know we spend lots of money on players, but look, that's a lot of money for someone who, like you said, has had one good season.
I mean,
I feel like that's a lot of pressure on him now to, to score goals. I don't know.
So his years in the Premier League. So the first season he played in the Premier League, he scored 1 goal in 21 appearances for Liverpool. Then he got 3 goals in 32 for Bournemouth. Actually, he got 0 goals in 10 for Bournemouth in his first year. Then 3 in 32. Then 2 good seasons in the Championship, where he got 44 goals combined. Then back in the Premier League, 6 goals in 33. And then obviously last season he got 19. So a good season, but you've got to look back and think, what changed in that where he went to 19? Is it to do with him, or is it to do with the team around him? And bear in mind, Bournemouth last season, yes, they conceded quite a lot of goals, but Iraola added something to them in an attacking sense. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, if you get 19 goals a season, Solanke, then you could say, yeah, value is pretty good, but the pressure is there to say...
He's injured already, isn't he?
Yeah, well, if we get 3 or 6 goals a season, Solanke, then 65 million is a lot. And again, I said it about Chiesa as well. With Son in the team, do you necessarily need someone to get 20 plus goals if Son does?
Yeah.
You'd like to
I know what you mean.
A central striker would, but I don't know. No, I'm not too sure. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. It is a lot of money though for someone who has had one good season where he's got in double figures in the Premier League. It is a lot of money to spend, and I think there are better options out there for that.
Yeah,
definitely.
They wouldn't have been far off getting Osimhen for that either.
No. Yeah. I have gone for another player that's injured already, Lenny Yoro. Nearly £59 million Man United spent on Lenny. He is injured. I think he got injured in pre-season, I want to say.
He's out for a while, isn't he?
Yes. It is a long-term injury, which is not his fault, and I'm going to not base it on the fact that he's just injured. I'm going to base it on the fact that I saw him play twice against Villa last season, and okay, he's only 18. There's clear potential there, but he got absolutely outclassed by Diaby, Bailey, Watkins. He just did not look ready to be a £59 million signing at that point. He has played a lot for Lille the last sort of couple of years, especially last season. He actually played 44 games in all competitions last season, but that is a big amount to spend on someone who's so young and really has only had one first team season in France. That's why I've gone with him. Obviously doesn't help that he's injured, I think, for the rest of the season. But yeah, he just looked quite slow. He's quite a big lad, but he just looked quite slow. He wasn't great at turning. I don't think he's cut out for the Premier League.
Is he going to play there if Martinez and De Ligt are sort of the...
Well, who knows? Who knows? I don't know what... Maybe they signed De Ligt because Yoro got injured, so
maybe.
Genuinely don't know. Yeah. I mean, there were big teams after him in the summer, and he chose Man United over, I think, Madrid and Liverpool and a couple of others. But yeah, I think it was just a strange signing, really. But yeah, they've got a number of options once he comes back from injury. So I don't know whether he'll be first choice or not. But he is still only young. There is time, but a lot of pressure on the lad. So yeah, I've gone for that to be worst signing of the season. One team to be promoted from each division then.
Okay, I went for, in the Championship, I went Sunderland.
Okay, top at the moment.
Started well, yeah. Started well. League One, I went for Wrexham.
Yeah.
Because they just get promoted every season at the moment, so why not?
I thought for a moment say another team, and I would have had to cut the podcast off, but that's good. I'll accept Wrexham.
I went for Doncaster for League Two.
They've gone 2 out of 3 as well.
Because they back end of last season they were really, really good.
They were flying at the end of last season.
And I think then they started off well this season as well. So.
Yeah. So I too went for Doncaster in League Two. I also went for Wrexham in League One, but that answer could have been anyone but Birmingham City, basically. And I've gone for Burnley to come back up. I know they've had a couple of results, I think, that have not gone their way, but generally I think their squad is so much stronger than a lot of them.
Yeah.
They've been left in quite a healthy position, I think, by Company. I think they've been left with quite a bit of money to spend with the players that they've sold over summer. So I would expect to see them there or thereabouts come the end of the season. But yeah, you're right. Sunderland have made a very good start, and Watford as well, who I didn't expect to see up there. Final prediction then: the standard, traditional. Where are Yeovil going to finish this season, Chris?
I got it right last year. Look, I've just gone for 12 because it's just mid-table, and I they've played well some games this season, and some games have been not so great. So I don't think they'll go down. I've put 12, but it could probably be anywhere from 10th to 16th, I think. But.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I've gone 15th, just because that league is getting stronger by the season. It seems.
Yeah, there's a lot of what I would say mid sort of teams in there. That when you won at last, you think they had Wrexham, Chesterfield, and Notts County all in there.
Yeah.
And they were always the big three in that league, but there was just never enough room for them all to go up at once.
Yeah.
Around,
didn't they?
So without them there, it does seem that there's probably between one of about 10 teams that could potentially go on and win it.
But looking at,
you never know. You never know. Look, they could get, at best, I would say they'll get a playoff spot.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be really tricky.
The thing is, I think there's, like you say, Notts County, Chesterfield, Wrexham, all in the last 3 years have been promoted, basically 1 year after another. But they've always got promoted with a side who have maybe been less fancied. And obviously Bromley went up last season. But what that means is that the two teams coming out of League Two, and there's been some quite big teams drop out recently, are starting to fill up the National League. So you've got, teams that have been in the Football League recently. You've got Rochdale, you've got Forest Green, you've got Oldham, Hartlepool, Southend, Dagenham. There's some, I would say, relatively recent and decent level as well. I mean, a few of these, Oldham played in the Premier League, 25 years ago. But yeah, there have been teams that have been certainly consistent league.
Yeovil are one of those teams. They were in the Championship 10 years ago. So.
Then were in the Championship not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really, really tough this season. But having said that, looking at the table now, I know we're only 6 games in, but Gateshead and Eastleigh are the teams that are leading the way. So who knows? It might be another season. One big team goes up and then there's a bit of a surprise in the playoffs or something like that. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I've gone for Yeovil to finish 15th. I think, like you, they'll be safely avoiding relegation, but I think it's going to be quite a tight mid-table battle this year. I don't know whether you think there's a bit of a divide in that league at the moment, but I'm looking at teams like Boston. I know Yeovil beat them at the weekend. Tamworth as well. I know they've been back in the Conference Premier when it was called that before, but there's quite a big gap, I would say, between your Hartlepools and your Oldhams and your Maidenhead Uniteds and stuff. Maybe there's a bit of a gap forming there that needs to be bridged. But I think Yeovil should be able to get over that with the squad that you've got. So I'm going for a comfortable season for Yeovil. I think 15th. I think you'll score more than last time.
Yeah.
So, which was obviously the thing that you were lacking when you were in this division before. But yeah. Cool. We're at the end of our predictions. I will save them and we will go through them in our sort of summary roundup at the end of the year. See how well we've done.
Cool. Right, so we're going to go on to something a bit new this season. So we've both done an FPL team in the Premier League fantasy football, but we've not gone in a league together. So we're going to reveal each week on obviously how well we've done. We've missed a few already, so we're just going to go through where we are at the moment. So I can tell you this week, Liam, I scored 68 points.
Oh.
And I would say that exactly half of it was down to Haaland.
Yeah, he got 34 points for me as well.
Yeah.
I've generally made a terrible start to this season, and I was bottom of all of my leagues until this week. I played my wild card early. I've got him very, very early. And I actually got 83 points this week.
Oh, very good.
So I will happily take week one. 34 of them, like you say, were Haaland, but 17 belonged to Salah, which is not bad. Anana got me 9, Vissa got me 8, Palmer got me 6. So not a bad returns. Only let down by my defence where Kilman blanked. Van der Ven didn't play. Anderson didn't.
Yeah, I've got Van der Ven as well.
Saliba was my top scoring defender with 2 points.
I've got Saliba as well.
clean sheet this weekend. But I have selected Morgan Rogers, and despite the fact that he's probably been our best player so far this season, he consistently scores very low points. He's managed 6 points, but I feel like it's a matter of time. He seems to be creating a lot of chances, so we just need...
I've yet to use any boost either. I've still got all 4 of mine left. What's your overall points?
My overall points, I imagine, will be lower than yours. I'm on 176.
Yeah, I am ahead. So I'm 198 at the moment.
Yeah. Almost half of my points were scored this week. That's how bad a start to the season has been.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really. So game week 2, I had Palmer and Haaland score the majority of my points. And game week 1 again was Haaland. Yeah, I mean, he scored a tremendous amount of points for my team already. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that through each week.
Didn't start with Haaland this season. I made the mistake of going, I'll spread out that cost and start Isak, Havertz and Watkins. None of them particularly well.
In the leagues I am in, I can tell the people who don't have Haaland because they are below me.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. All right, so let's go on to Who Am I? And it's Liam this week.
It is me this week. Don't think this is particularly tough.
Okay.
We'll see how.
Just ease me in for the new series.
Okay. Start with. So, this player started their career at Chelmsley Town.
Chelmsley, blimey.
Well-known team. They then moved to Walsall, and they had a loan spell at Halesowen Town while they were there. They then moved to Watford, to Birmingham City, and finally Forest Green Rovers. Any idea?
Oh my word. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Now that I actually think about it.
The penny was finally dropped.
I'm gonna take a guess that Watford was probably where he spent the majority of his time playing football.
He may have spent a considerable amount.
I think the Forest Green thing is probably the giveaway.
Yeah, because he did a job there, didn't he? Can you remember what other job he did at that club?
At Forest Green?
Yeah.
He was the manager, wasn't he?
Well, he was their manager. He was a player manager.
But didn't he say something about the players or something after a game? And
he did. Yes, he laid it for the players.
Okay, well, Troy Deeney is the answer.
It is. Yes, it is Troy Deeney. Hired as Forest Green manager in August 2023, sacked in January 2024. Didn't last very long, but yes, Troy Deeney. Included this week because he's taken over from everyone's favourite man that they love to hate, Garth Crooks, selecting the team of the week for the BBC, which this week contained Aston Villa right back and debutant Lamar Bogard, which surprised us all because although he didn't do anything particularly bad, he just didn't really particularly shine out either. So that was an interesting one. But yeah, Troy Deeney this week. How many games do you think he played for Watford?
I know because I'm on his. I've just typed his name. Yeah. I always like looking at what he's been up to.
419 games.
Yeah.
Which is not bad going in this day and age. He did play for them for 12 years, all told. 140 goals.
But I'm not sure how this happened, right? But it says here that he took part on Celebrity Mastermind in 2023, and he got no answers right on his specialist subject, the Spider-Man films. Wow. But he didn't even finish last. He came third of 4 people.
Because obviously someone was much worse than him.
What's gone there?
Yeah. Very strange. He, I obviously included him because he's taken over from Team of the Week, but something that, he doesn't like Aston Villa. He's made it very, very clear on the several times that we've played against him that he is a Birmingham City fan. But he was invited by Villa Academy to take part in a 4-day summer trial at the age of 15 with a view to earning a youth contract. But he missed the first 3 days because he just knew there was a game on the last day. So he wasn't offered terms.
Right.
That meant that his professional contract didn't start until he joined Walsall a couple of years later. So
he's a Birmingham City fan, apparently.
He is a Birmingham City fan, and God, he lets us know it every time we used to play against him. And he always used to score against us as well. He liked nothing more than a goal against Villa. But, scored a lot of goals for Watford. I can safely say it now he's retired that he wasn't the worst striker in the world.
He was hospitalised with COVID as well. So he was on a ventilator for 4 days.
There you go. No, I didn't. He's obviously go down as a Watford legend. Not quite sure he'll go down as a Birmingham City legend because he didn't score that many goals for them. Certainly won't go down as a Forest Green Rovers.
No, I don't think he'll be welcome back there anytime soon. Anyway, anything else this week, Liam?
No, nothing from me.
Cool. Good to be back. We will speak on the next one.